Your kid's headache might not be a headache. It might be something growing slowly, quietly, for months. And the scariest part, the symptoms look almost identical to something completely harmless. Stay with me, this one could actually save a life. Okay, before you spiral into panic mode, I am not saying every headache is a tumor. I need to be clear about that right away. Most headaches in kids are exactly what they look like. Stress, dehydration, screen time, a bad night's sleep, but there is a small percentage that aren't. And the doctor's trained to tell the difference. Most parents have never even heard of them. Let that sink in for a second. Here is how it usually plays out. A 7-year-old starts getting headaches, mostly in the morning, sometimes bad enough that she throws up before school. Mom takes her to the pediatrician. Probably migraines, try more water, less screen time, see how it goes. Reasonable advice. Most of the time, that is exactly right, but the headaches don't go away, they come back. Worse. Now she is stumbling a little when she walks. Mom chalks it up to being tired. Then one morning, she can't see clearly out of one eye. That is when things move fast. An MRI. A referral. A word nobody in that family had used before. Neurosurgeon. Turns out, there had been a slow-growing mass pressing on her brain for months. The headaches, the vomiting, the stumbling, all connected the entire time. Nobody had put the pieces together, because no single piece looked alarming on its own. That is not a failure of any one doctor. That is what happens when nobody's watching the full pattern. Here is the truth. Pediatric brain tumors are rare, genuinely rare. I am not here to make every parent terrified of a headache. But brain and spine conditions in children, tumors, hydrocephalus, structural abnormalities, certain types of seizures, are among the most commonly missed diagnoses in pediatric medicine. Not because doctors are careless, because the early symptoms mimic completely normal childhood complaints. A headache looks like a headache. Clumsiness looks like being 7. Vomiting looks like a stomach bug. Nobody tells parents there is a doctor whose entire job is separating. This is probably nothing from this needs imaging now. That specialist is a pediatric neurosurgeon. And most families only meet one after a crisis, not before. So why does this keep slipping past everyone? Reason 1. The early symptoms overlap almost completely with common, harmless childhood issues: headaches, fatigue, mood changes, occasional clumsiness. Every single one of those has 100 innocent explanations. Reason 2. Kids are bad at describing what is wrong. A 5-year-old can't tell you this headache feels different than usual, or my vision has a blind spot. They just say, my head hurts. The same thing they said last week for a completely different reason. Reason 3. Pediatric neurosurgery is a narrow, highly specialized field. There aren't nearly as many pediatric neurosurgeons as there are pediatricians. Most families never interact with this specialty unless something specific triggers a referral, like a red flag symptom or an abnormal scan. None of this is anyone's fault. It is a structural gap. But that gap is exactly why parents need to know the red flags themselves. I know what you might be thinking right now. Great. Now I am going to panic over every single headache my kid has for the rest of childhood. That is not the goal here. Let's make this practical instead of terrifying. Here is exactly what separates a normal headache from a red flag, and what to actually do about it. First, pay attention to pattern, not just pain. A headache that wakes a child from sleep, is worse in the morning, or comes with vomiting, especially without other signs of a stomach bug, deserves a conversation with your doctor. Timing matters more than intensity. Second, watch for anything neurological alongside the headache. New clumsiness, unsteady walking, vision changes, unusual eye movements, personality or behavior changes that don't fit the child. One of these alone might be nothing. 2 or more together, especially with headaches, is worth raising immediately. Third, for infants, watch head growth. A baby's head growing unusually fast, a bulging soft spot, or eyes that seem to drift downward persistently, can be signs of fluid buildup on the brain, something called hydrocephalus. This is very treatable when caught early. Fourth, if your pediatrician orders an MRI or CT scan and it comes back abnormal, that referral to a pediatric neurosurgeon is not something to delay or wait and see on. This is one of those moments where fast action changes outcomes. Write this down: you are not being an overly anxious parent by asking your doctor, "Should we rule this out?" You are doing exactly what you are supposed to do. A good doctor will never make you feel foolish for asking. But here is the part that is harder to hear. Even when parents notice something is off, even when that gut feeling is screaming at them, a lot of them still wait. It is probably nothing. I don't want to be dramatic. We'll mention it at the next appointment. Stay with me. Because what happens in that waiting period is the difference between a story with a good ending and one without. Let's be completely honest with each other. Most of you watching this are not going to deal with a brain tumor. Statistically, that is the truth, and I am not going to pretend otherwise to keep you scared and watching. But some of you have a kid with a headache pattern that has been bothering you for weeks. And you haven't said anything to the doctor beyond "Yay, she gets headaches sometimes." I am not here to make you feel guilty. Parenting is a constant triage of what is worth worrying about. That instinct to not overreact is usually the right one. But when a symptom pattern keeps repeating, keeps evolving, keeps adding new pieces, that is not you being paranoid. That is information. And the parents who get ahead of this are the ones who say the whole pattern out loud to a doctor, instead of mentioning one piece at a time across 3 different appointments. Now, here is the part that actually matters. Pediatric neurosurgery today is remarkably advanced. Conditions that used to be devastating are now often highly treatable, especially when caught before they progress. Hydrocephalus can be managed, many tumors are treatable, and outcomes have improved enormously over the past few decades. You don't need to become a medical expert. You don't need to diagnose your child yourself. You just need to know that the pattern matters more than any single symptom, and that asking, "Can we rule this out?" is never the wrong move. The parents who get the best outcomes aren't the ones who panic. They're the ones who pay attention, connect the dots, and speak up early. You just became one of those parents. If this video changed how you'll respond next time something feels off with your kid, that was the whole point. If your child has a symptom pattern that has been nagging at you, don't sit on it. Bring the whole picture to your pediatrician, not just one piece. If you want more videos like this, honest, direct, no unnecessary fear, hit subscribe. This channel exists to help you know what actually matters and what doesn't. Let me know in the comments, had you ever heard of a pediatric neurosurgeon before this video, or is this the first time? I read every comment and it genuinely shapes what I cover next. One important thing before you go: this video is for education, not diagnosis. If your child is having a medical emergency, call 911 or go to the nearest emergency room. For anything else, talk to a licensed physician who can actually examine your child. See you in the next one.